Alright, welcome back to Slop of the Day, where generally we do talk about negative stuff that makes you mad, but today we are going to talk about something more positive, more about the Raja Jackson situation, and some positive news on the situation, believe it or not. As you guys know, not long ago, streamer Raja Jackson, aka Rampage Jackson's son, the former UFC fighter, his son was at a small wrestling school event place, and Raja said he didn't know who Stu was, so Psycho Stu hit an empty beer can over Raja's head, which he thought Raja was a worker or something. It obviously was some kind of weird misunderstanding. Stu went on to apologize about 3 different times, and Raja, being the bitch boy that he is, said it was fine, and they were even gonna let Raja come in the ring and get a slam on Stu to call it even. Pretty fair if you ask me. Anyway, as we know, Raja did not do that, and slammed him and viciously punched him in the face about 20 times. Obviously, Stu was very hurt and knocked out, and in critical condition. Some say he even flatlined as he was going to the hospital. And they said that Raja almost knocked all his teeth out and broke his face. I guess I'll get the bad news out of the way first. Somehow, Raja is still not locked up. We're going to look at what Legal Mindset has to say and see if a lawyer thinks he's screwed or he could possibly be fine. But the good news is Psycho Stu has been released from the hospital, which is very good news. Now, they're saying it's obviously a long road of recovery, which is obviously no surprise. I'm more surprised he doesn't have crazy brain damage, but bro's definitely a tank for being able to take all that and still get out of the hospital in what, like a week? I don't know yet if Mr. Beast has paid or is still going to pay for his hospital bills, but I do hope that he does. It's at least good that Raja didn't end his life or even like put him in a coma or something. Now, I don't know still if he's going to be able to wrestle or go back to it. I do hope so, because as we know, he is a veteran that served our country and suffers from PTSD. And he said wrestling is the only thing that helps, man. Once again, though, what the fuck? Why is Raja not locked up? I think this is crazy. I know the last time that we talked about it, the wrestling organization was trying to cover up the incident, telling wrestlers to not talk to cops or the press, which is crazy. Like, what are they trying to hide, man? So I don't know if that's hurting the investigation. Let's remember, this was premeditated. He was on stream talking about how he's going to hit him and other stuff. You would think the stream evidence would be enough, but no, it's surprisingly not. I do want you guys to see what Legal Mindset has to say about the possible legal repercussions. Keep in mind, his video was the day it happened, so like 4 or 5 days ago, when he was still in critical condition.
So obviously you have attempted murder. That's something that people have been throwing around. That's in all the clickbait, thumbnails, etc. Now, whether or not this is an attempted murder is going to be based on intent. Intent. How it reads in the state is intended to cause death as opposed to serious harm. And their actions were directed towards achieving that intent, but ultimately ineffective in completing it. Meaning they tried to get rid of this person, tried to end them, and only because of whatever else happened did that not happen. So it has to be specific intent of death, not of serious bodily harm. So if you just intend to mess somebody up, to hurt them a lot, that is actually not enough. That would actually not be enough under the relevant statute. Now, it can be first-degree murder, which is premeditated, or second-degree murder, which is a little bit closer to manslaughter. For those that are familiar with the statutes, we're going to talk about manslaughter next. But in this case, the specific intent is the biggest thing that is going to be the hurdle for prosecutors if they wanted to go this route. Next is manslaughter, and manslaughter is the unlawful killing of another without malice. It does not require malicious intent, and this can either be a sudden fight or a heat of passion in the case of voluntary manslaughter, or involuntary manslaughter, which occurs when committing another felony. The problem with manslaughter is there's no attempted manslaughter. So the fact that he's not dead, right, that there isn't a killing here, right, kind of negates this one. So while a lot of people have been throwing around the word manslaughter, it really won't work as an attempted manslaughter. There's attempted murder, and then there's other things, which we're going to get into, but there's not attempted manslaughter. So that one is probably not going to be the thing.
Yeah, all of these are possible charges he could get. I don't know what's taking the prosecutor or whoever has to charge him is taking so long. I don't know if they just want to make sure they get all the right charges, because like he said, manslaughter, probably not the case, especially since he's better now, but I do think that attempted murder still could be a possibility, as he said intent. And as we all saw on his stream, he intended to hurt him. The amount of damage he did and the swings he took, I don't see how that couldn't be attempted murder at first, but because he's rich, of course he'll get the charge down to something like battery, which is what Legal Mindset actually talks about next.
Battery, definitely something that everybody can consider. And if you consider murder at the top end and battery at the low end, battery is one that, as you're going to see here, it looks a lot more possible. So a battery is essentially when a defendant, in this case Raja, willfully and unlawfully touched another in a harmful or offensive manner and was not justified. So a lot of people confuse assault and battery. Assault is the threat of harm, and there has to be a fear, right, that's accompanying that threat. And battery is the completed act. So battery is you've not just threatened somebody, but you've gone and done the thing. You've actually gone and touched the person, you've harmed the person. So harmful or offensive manner means you physically harmed somebody, or it was done in an angry, rude, or disrespectful way that the victim found offensive. Well, this is, of course, beyond angry and rude or disrespectful. I mean, you're unconscious. You're being beaten while you're unconscious. Obviously, that is physically harmful, right? And there's no justification. So the justifications in the relevant statute are usually self-defense, defense of others, or disciplining a child. That's not what we had here. So battery, not looking good for Raja.
So yeah, it's definitely looking like battery, if you ask me. Now that Stu is out of the hospital, I don't know if he's talked to the cops or what, but if anything, I'd be suing Raja, that's for sure. Once again, though, it's been like, almost a week and still no arrest or anything. Just all around very surprising. Next thing he talks about is mutual combat, which is legal in some states.
Now, there are some defenses. There's mutual combat, which is a limited defense, not a total defense. It's not a get out of jail free card, but it is a limited defense against assault or battery, but only in the specific circumstance where both parties clearly and willingly participated without the intent to cause serious injury. So there's a lot of problems there. The willfulness, the consent. Obviously, there's not a consent to be beaten unconscious. So that's kind of out of the picture. And beyond that, the intent to cause serious injury, it looks like from what we see, there's an intent to cause serious injury. It did not look like there was an intent to just, have the fight and step back under the rules, right? And even if this did apply, which it likely doesn't, it's not a full defense. It's incomplete defense. It doesn't fully protect from criminal or civil liability. It just might mitigate that. And serious injuries, like we have here, critical condition in the hospital, are typically still illegal, even in mutual combat. And combat often, if it goes beyond that consent, the consent of the original fight, it's out. And that's what I think we see here.
Though, I just don't see that working, as the fight should have happened when he initially hit the beer can on Raja. Then maybe it could be mutual combat, but I just don't see that, as it was much later and premeditated, which, as we're learning, is a whole different crime now. Now, this last one I'm going to show you is pretty interesting, and I guess it's crazy how many workarounds there are in the law to fit each person's emotional dynamic, meaning if you have mental disease, etc. Let's check it out.
We see here. Now, what the concussion might come up with and might come up as a defense is diminished actuality. This is actually changed from the diminished capacity defense. Some people are aware of that one. But what this means is the defendant, in this case Raja, did not have the necessary specific intent due to a mental disease, defect, or disorder. So what Rampage argued, and I don't know whether he knew he was making a legal argument or not, but that fact from Rampage's message was very relevant, because a concussion has been proven in other cases to form the basis for diminished actuality if it prevented them from having a specific intent. So if it hurt their brain in a way that they couldn't think and form that intent, well, that could prevent something like, for example, an attempted murder. You can't prove attempted murder if you have no specific intent. So that would negate that. Might not negate a battery, right? So that's an issue for battery, but it might negate him from attempted murder. This would require an expert analysis, expert testimonies. You have to get a lot of people backing this up and saying this actually happened, but it is indeed possible.
So I could see them using this argument saying, oh, Raja's a fighter, or used to be a fighter, trains martial arts, he's had concussions, things like that, to kind of help prove there was no intention, that the person, aka Raja, has enough damage that it wasn't as big of a deal. I don't know. See, that's just so shitty. See, that shit's just so tricky. And the lawyers using their legal terms always make me feel so dumb. And the last thing you talked about is kind of what I touched on earlier, where it's a big civil liability as well. So Raja can be sued, the wrestling organization can be sued. There's more to lose than just the criminal side. And with how the wrestling place has been acting pretty shady too, I'd say sue them too. And sue Raja. I mean, look, I don't know Stu, and I'm sure he wasn't perfect. First time meeting someone, you shouldn't hit a can over their head. I know he's a heel and all that, but that doesn't mean he deserved what happened to him. All around, just glad he's at least doing better and out of the hospital. But that's all the slop I got for you today. Bye.